the Twitter the other day, Martin tweeted, "Classic Malcolm in the Middle is on, and a young Lisa Voiles appears as Mallory." That's how all of you sound in my head, by the way. "I totally forgot this episode existed. A binge is required." So then I responded to him and I said, "Was such a fun episode to film. That cast was so great." That's how I assume I sound to all of you. And it totally got me reminiscing of how much fun I had on that set and how great the cast was. And I totally forgot that I have a great little memento from that set. After I was done filming, in the mail, I got a handwritten thank you note from Bryan Cranston and Jane Kaczmarek thanking me for being a guest on the show. Actors aren't supposed to be nice. Those guys, that was so nice. They didn't have to do that. Throughout my time in Hollywood and being an actor, I have had run-ins with a lot of celebrities, and some are like really quick, like, "Hey, nice to meet you, hey, goodbye," and then I never see them again. But some, like, I have some really funny stories. So I decided that I want to share them with you. And this is in no way bragging. I'm not bragging that like, "Oh, look at all the celebrities that I've rubbed elbows with." What does that even mean? Why am I rubbing elbows on people at all? No one should do that. Okay, so first story. So the little girl who played female Dewey on that episode of Malcolm in the Middle is Jennette Mccurdy, who grew up to be the gorgeous blonde on iCarly. And we totally bonded over our extreme obsession with Clay Aiken. This was right during American Idol Season 2, and we were like, obsessed. So a couple months later, I heard that he was coming to sing at a Nickelodeon event that was taking place in the parking lot of Nick on Sunset where I filmed all that. So I called up Jennette and I was like, "Oh my God, Clay Aiken's gonna be here, you have to come." And we were like, so then we were there and he was up on stage singing that one really creepy song of his where he's like, if I was invisible, then I would just watch you in your room. Like that's creepy. And we were just off stage just like, so he comes off stage and he just gets like swarmed by girls, which is funny. But then he like parts the fans, like the Red Sea, and comes straight up to us and he was like, "Hey, I saw you girls staring at me. Did you want to say hi?" And we're just like, "Yeah." And then we got our picture and he was super nice. And I don't think our love for him is gonna work out, but it was still a fun day. One time I was singing the national anthem to open up this big like Hollywood gala. I think I was like 15 or something. And I was crazy nervous because Steven Spielberg was in the audience. He's kind of a big deal. So I was a nervous wreck when I came off stage, but immediately Brendan Fraser and Jimmy Smits both came up to me at the same time and they were just like, "You did such a good job. That was awesome." And I was like, "You're George of the Jungle and you're from Star Wars." Dana White recently called me a rock star because he likes what I do on the UFC Minute. Oh, so here's a weird one. I ran into Jesse McCartney in a hair and makeup room and he was rubbing some kind of like hair gel between his hands and spiking up his do. And I walk over and I'm like, "What's that goop you're putting in your hair?" And he's like, "You want to feel it?" And I'm like, that's a weird thing to say. I have a few good Britney Spears stories just because I was friends with her little sister Jamie. She was on All That for 2 seasons and we got pretty close. But my favorite story was the first time that I spent the night over at her house. We walk in this giant mansion in the Hollywood Hills and Britney's just playing the piano and it's like gorgeous. And I didn't even know Britney could play the piano, but it was beautiful. So later that night I was hanging out with Jamie in her room and I had just gotten out of the shower, so I was like in a towel. No, this is not going the direction you wanted to. And I said, "Jamie, do you have a hairdryer?" And she's like, "Go down the hall and ask Brittany? You want me to go ask Brittany to use her hairdryer? Is that what you're telling me?" So with every step down the hall toward Brittany's room, I just got like more and more nervous and I almost froze up and didn't go in. But then I opened the door and she's like, "Hey, sweetie, what do you need?" I'm like, hey, Brittany, can I hair drying device here? She's like, "Absolutely, come with me." And she like leads me into her bathroom and takes out her $500,000 blow dryer probably, and it says, "Here you go." And then I proceed to use it to dry my hair. Another one of my favorites was Jennifer Love Hewitt was guest starring on the show, and the hair and makeup department had worked with her previously, and they would always tell me that I reminded them of her and that we were like long-lost sisters. We didn't look anything alike, but just like our personality. So then when she arrived on set, she was like, "Oh, you're the one they were telling me about. We should get a picture." And then we took this Polaroid. It's like she asked me for a picture. Out of all the musical guests that performed on All That, Bare Naked Ladies was probably my favorite. They played a full concert for just the cast and crew before they ever started rolling the cameras. Aaron Carter also performed on the show, And backstage, after his performance, he played foosball with all of us. And I kicked his ass. Oh, probably the most starstruck I've ever been is when I met Andy Serkis. My publicist knew that I was the biggest Lord of the Rings nut, nerd, fan, crazy person in the whole world. And he's like, do you want to meet Andy? Hey, at least you want to meet Andy? Let's go meet Andy. And I'm like, oh, okay, let's go. So I met Andy and I asked him a bunch of nerdy Lord of the Rings questions. And of course, he did the voice for me. I can't do it, but you know what it sounds like. At a Big Bang Theory rap party, I did shots with Buzz Aldrin. And probably the most awesome celebrity story, and most of you maybe won't appreciate this or really even know who he is, but I had done an impression of Buddy Hackett for my All That audition. And again, I was like 13 at the time, so the producers always thought that was hilarious that I was doing these like old school, you know, impressions of these old school actors, and I was so young. So one of the episodes of All That, the producers actually bring Buddy Hackett onto the show as a guest star, pretty much exclusively for me. And he was there with Phyllis Diller, and they were hilarious. And afterward, I talked to him for a while, and he was so sweet, and he actually passed away a couple years later, so that photo is like really special to me. That was such a surreal moment. Oh, and one more. I was at a Rockin' Republic fashion show, and my publicist was off somewhere, so I was just like alone, surrounded by all these like tall, beautiful people, just walking around like, what do I do with myself? I can't drink, I'll hang out at the bar and drink water. So I was hanging out by the bar trying to look cool, and this guy like rushes up, and he orders a drink, and he kind of like nods at me, and I was like, hi. And so he gets his drink, and someone bumps him, and he like spills it on me, and I was like, oh geez, and he was so sorry. He's like, oh my god, I'm so sorry. What, like, can I help you? What can I do? And then this like sea of paparazzi like spill into the building like a virus, and they all start yelling at that guy, and he's like, I'm sorry, I have to go, and he like runs away, and then all those people like run after him, and I'm just there, and I'm wet, and I'm confused. It was Adam Levine, and I had been baptized in the Maroon 5 holy water. And also all my clothes were stained. Totally worth it. Hey guys, thanks for watching. If you want more vids, be sure to subscribe because, you know, my channel, it's pretty awesome. You want to be part of this.